And Paige says, well, I suppose someone would have had to stay home and look after the kids. All joking aside, we were beaten by a team who clearly wanted it more. You can't win matches running laterally. We looked knackered from the minute the match kicked off. Hopefully we're saving energy for Friday.
And Scoots got in touch and said, Sarah said, not really sure how to sum that up. The fans turned up in big numbers, the team didn't bother. Connor needs to stop looking for an argument with everyone and concentrate on playing the game, like running the ball in after catching a kick, supporting his teammate getting pushed into touch. Sao and Mao made the yards, but we lacked shape and ideas. Still not convinced by Gale and Reynolds. I think Reynolds was okay when he came on, and actually Gale was a little bit maybe better when Reynolds was on too, but that's based on that being more the second half. And in the first half, like, there's no doubt that Huddersfield were probably better than 16-6 in that first half. In my view, they probably were 24-26, 24-30 points to 6 better, I thought, in the first half.
Yeah, the Giants were much more organised, I thought. And I've got to say, I had my notes kind of thought, for me, Huddersfield were way better up front than FC were.
Yes.
Because, FC...
Satai was the most absent I've seen him.
Yeah, it's one of their strengths, and they were beaten by the likes of Yates and Hill in this one. Big time.
Yates got a lot of love, didn't he, in the commentary, but I think it's deserved. He performed outstandingly. But Jones was very good as well, I thought, even though he had to have his two-minute green card. He was really good.
He was good, yeah.
There was one carry where I think he ran for about 25 metres just holding Danny Houghton.
Yeah, there's something like, if you can channel him, he is incredibly difficult to stop, but it's you can never quite get it consistently. But yeah, for me, FC halfback, yes. I think pre-season we were all having our doubts about Gale, and they haven't been answered yet. But yeah, for me, the biggest difference was FC we just couldn't go forward in the same way that the Giants could. But yeah, I mean, Mark's right to pick out the tackle on Griffin as an absolutely pivotal moment in the match. If he scores that, it could be all square, couldn't it? And all bets are off at that point. But yeah, and then...
Yeah, would it have been 14-12, or was it later than that?
It was late. I don't know. In my mind's eye, it'd have been... Would it have made it 16 apiece if he'd kicked the goal?
I watched this game in about 3 different spells of time, so I'm trying to get my head around which one of them I watched this bit in. But Griffin was actually a threat, but really bottled up. Like, it's almost like they let him make meters, but made sure he didn't ever really win, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and obviously the possession came from a Giants mistake. It was kind of a ball out the back that didn't meet a hand, and then Griffin kind of took it. And yeah, it's just one of those little things that, and on another day he manages to get over the line, but the fact that they managed to make him knock on, get the ball back, and then it felt like this Giants scored pretty much straight soon after that. And then it was a big mountain to climb, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there were some good tries by both sides in this game, weren't they? The ones from kicks were nice. The Savelio try was good. I think that was when Lovadou had gone into loose forward rather than where he started the game. And there is a question about where's best to play him. There is a question as well about will his effectiveness diminish as he becomes less of a surprise. I talked last week about Wigan, had they really done the video on him, because he did stuff that I'd seen him do already, but more and more as he's getting talked about in games in the last few weeks, the people are gonna keep tabs on him. But he still came up with a good play for that Savelio effort. But that Lola here try, that at that point, that made the game reflect the scoreline, reflect the game how it felt. And I do think FC were better in the second half than they were in the first half, but Huddersfield had laid such a good platform in the first half that I just never thought FC were going to get back into it. But they nearly did. You know, like you say, there was a couple of close efforts. McIntosh as well, when he scored, if that had been converted, it would have been 5 minutes left and 6 points the difference. So,
Yeah.
you know, it probably was closer than Huddersfield really should feel like it should have been. But because that conversion missed, I think they did have the chance to relax a little bit then. I do think that took away any momentum that might have built, really.
Yeah, particularly because obviously they just scored after Huddersfield had kicked a penalty, hadn't they? So, yeah, it was a bit of a crucial kick, really, and a crucial miss anyway. But yeah, there's no complaints. I think the Giants were the better side on balance. So
they were definitely the better side. But are we convinced that Latelli actually got that first try down? I don't think he did. I didn't see any point where the ball didn't have a hand underneath it.
I didn't have a problem with it being given, and it seemed more likely than not that it was scored. There was no video evidence to say that it wasn't scored, and it was given as a try on the field. So,
I thought it was very close call. But saying that, the Giants had about 3 other chances before they scored again anyway.
Yeah, as I said, they could have easily led by a lot more at half time. Not that dissimilar to KR in Friday night, but yeah, they'll be happy to be through.
Yeah, well done to Huddersfield. Really building into this season, I think. So Watson's doing great stuff there. Nothing else to pull out of that game. So let's move on to the final game, Wakefield versus Wigan. It was 12-6 to Wigan at half time, arguably against the run of the play, but it was 36-6 to Wigan at full time, definitely not against the run of play. 3,756 were there. James Child was the referee. Quite a few fan views in on this one. Do you want to give us the first one?
Yep, first one from Callum Percy says, valiant effort from Wakefield. They put great pressure on us in the first half, but I thought our goal line defence that first half was top class. To be defending nearly all half and to come away and score tries as well was ace. Gutted I wasn't allowed in with the drum for, in quotation marks, health and safety reasons. Eardrums of the person next to you, perhaps. But I got it back with 5 minutes to go and got kicked out with it. Can't wait for Good Friday. 10 of us from Dewsbury on to Staines in the semi.
Yeah, so Callum, we all wondered where the drum had gone. And then right near the end, he started drumming again, and then they took it off him again. So then they kind of kicked him out. So he stood, you know, on the away side where you've got the gates onto the back alley.
Yes.
At Wakefield. So he basically just stood 2 yards into the back alley, banging his drum for the last couple of minutes, and sort of asked the players were finishing the game off, like, you know, all doing the shaking hands and cuddling and business and all that. But the weird part of it was they wouldn't let him have his drum inside the ground, but they let him take his pint outside the ground. I didn't think they normally do that.
Well, what you do outside is your own business, I suppose. So
he was there with his Strongbow Dark Fruits, banging away on his drum as we were all sort of leaving, and he was being defiant, I'll say, was Callum. But anyway, moving on, Jen K said, surprisingly warm afternoon in West Yorkshire. I thought, I took a coat and a hoodie, and I didn't wear the coat at all. She said, I thought the game would be tighter than it was. Wakefield were good for one half only. Wigan were great, looked a bit clumsy at first, figuring out the new conversations with returning players. Zach's kicking was great, and Lulawai stood out for me. On to Ellen Road.
Mark W says, Wakefield had a really good go in that first half, but never really got that momentum back after some absolutely solid defence got Wigan through the early pressure. In the second half, Wigan had no longer had to deal with the fear they were facing Huddersfield in the semis, and as a result, looked like they finally wanted to win with some really nice tries putting the game to bed. I bet that was a relief. A relief for them.
Kevin Brown certainly got some stick for what draw he pulled out when he was walking back from the crowd. Matt Speakman said that was enjoyable despite the weird part of the ground they put us in. We got to see almost all the action. Brilliant performance from the whole team. Field again was magic. Violated the winger for his last try when he was put out there for a bit and French went to fullback. Good to see him beat some players with his step and get into the game a lot more. Nobody will want to play us anymore, not like last year.
Wakey White says, bit of a harsh scoreline this one. I thought Wakey started really well and were the better side in the first half, but struggled to break down excellent Wigan defence. Second half was a different story as Wigan's big players combined well to cause Wakey all sorts of problems. I feel like we really suffered the absence of our main strike players in Johnson and Fafita while getting torn apart by Bateman, Hardacre and company.
White Pie said, a classic game of two halves. Wakey dominated the first half and should have gone in level, but for an excellent tackle by Zach, but went in losing 12-6. Jay got his usual long-range try, a second off a Mago offload, and his third playing on the wing. The Pearl scored from a drop ball by Liam Kay. Wigan dominated the second half, and Wakey barely had a sniff as our defence snuffed out everything bar an acrobatic try. Look, I'm not taking away anything from Wakey, and I certainly agree that they were missing some players. Yeah, I'd add Miller to that list as well of Johnston and Fafita.
Yes, definitely.
And I do feel like probably Fafita was the bigger miss in this game because they just tried to lean on Tanganoa and they absolutely busted him by doing that, knackered him out, whilst Wigan had a very fresh looking front row almost all through the game because of the rotation they were able to bring through, and then even rest Powell for a bit as well at the end, a luxury. But I don't think the scoreline was harsh. I think Wigan's second half, I'd say, was probably our best half of the year so far, other than one sort of little bit where Lino had got the ball, little bit of loose play, put a kick through and it just bounced badly. Like on that Wakefield pitch, the last bounce always seems to go sort of the wrong way, like it was a 4G pitch something. And it bounced in it away from, I think Crowther maybe was the guy chasing it, and Wigan snuffed that out. But that was literally the only time I thought they were even going to potentially score in the second half. And all of the rest of it was Wigan dominating after battling through the first half. But again, in the first half, I don't really feel like Wigan were hugely stretched either. Wakefield's kicking game was good, 2 40-20s. That was a large part of what gave Wakefield good field position, plus sustained pressure from forcing a few dropouts as well, with a good short kicking game in that first half too. But outside of the Murphy no try, and then the later one where he learnt his lesson, went a bit more aerial and finished it off, great finish, I don't think we were ever really flustered defensively. They might have made a few offloads, made a bit of ground, whatever, but Wigan always looked like they reorganised and got back into shape very quickly with anything Wakefield offered, really. I never felt truly nervous at any point during this game, and that's unusual for me.
I do have some sympathy for the sense that Wakey could have gone in level. I think the first half was very even in the sense of Wigan were absorbing a lot of things that Wakey were throwing at them.
We cancelled them out, rather than other than two long-range breaks that led to our two tries, and I think there was one other set we had near their line where Thornley, good tackle by Murphy, Thornley dropped the ball trying to go in. But we cancelled them out, but I never thought they... Anyway, go on.
No, I was saying was, because in the first half I was saying, I kind of made a note that Wigan were kind of using a lot of interchanges. It felt like they were using more than Wakefield were, but what was happening was, as you rightly say, Wakey were kind of burning their players out, and because they knew, with the greatest respect to the players that they were coming on, they were not as good. So they were trying to get on top of you whilst they could, and using those players and trying to get ahead. But unfortunately, they just couldn't. You were too disciplined in defence compared to playing Warrington, who were a shambles. the kind of the efforts that they were making just weren't working in the same way that they did weeks before. So